Hi, Lisa Broyles here with Way to Health MD, and this is the final installment in my vaccine series about the COVID-19 vaccine, which is a messenger RNA vaccine. I've already described in my previous video the technology behind the mRNA vaccine, that it does produce a more robust immune response that is both humoral, which is more shorter acting, and cell-mediated, which is a longer acting, more robust immunity. And it's cheaper to make, easier to produce, so pretty cool technology. There's also some anti-cancer benefits that we may have in the future, treatments coming out of the messenger RNA technology. But let's talk specifically about the COVID-19 vaccines currently available in the United States, which are by Moderna and Pfizer. There were some others produced at the beginning by AstraZeneca and Johnson Johnson. These vaccines were discontinued due to an increased rate of blood clots, bleeding, and a syndrome called Guillain-Barré, where basically your neurons are stripped and you lose the ability to walk starting from your feet up, and can even cause respiratory paralysis, which in most people is temporary, but still pretty darn scary. Okay, so those versions were discontinued, and currently we do have the Pfizer and the Moderna forms of these vaccines. So these vaccines employ the same technology of a target protein, and in the COVID-19 case, it targets something called the ACE2 receptor. The cool thing about the vaccination, patients that are on medications that already are using up those ACE2 receptors are actually less likely to get COVID because those receptors are being blocked up. And that's actually people that have or haven't been vaccinated against COVID, but that's people that are on medications in the ACE inhibitor family or the angiotensin receptor family of drugs. Things like losartan or lisinopril do reduce your risk of actually getting COVID. But back to the COVID-19 vaccine. So we discussed how it works, that it introduces this spike protein to your body and makes your body immune to COVID. So the thing about this vaccine is it produces such a robust immune response that you may actually feel pretty bad. I know personally when I got the boosters, when the epidemic was happening, I had lymph node swelling all through my neck and arms and under my armpit for days. I definitely had a low-grade fever, felt really achy, and then those symptoms recovered and I didn't get COVID during the pandemic, thankfully. Your immunity does wane over time, and that's why they do recommend a booster. However, I do feel that unless you are immunocompromised in some way or you have a pre-existing condition that makes you sicker faster, such as heart failure, severe asthma or COPD, or you're greater than 75 years old, you probably don't need the booster at this point. And the reason I say that is that COVID-19 is not as severe now as it was several years ago. Yes, it is causing some deaths still. Yes, it is still extremely contagious, but most people experience just mild flu-like symptoms. You might be sick for a week with headache, upper respiratory symptoms, some nausea, diarrhea, maybe some vomiting. Yes, it's unpleasant, but in most cases, it's not killing people anymore. So the virulence, how severe the strains are, has diminished. And because of that, I say that it's not necessary for the entire population to get a booster of COVID-19 every year, because even though it does create immunity to COVID-19 in the majority of people, that immunity is robust, as I've just said. And it is possible for you to get some symptoms or things that the COVID virus would cause from the vaccine. So one of those is myocarditis, which is an inflammation of the heart lining. So COVID-19 virus itself causes myocarditis in a small percentage of patients, especially young adult males. Okay, and unfortunately, the COVID-19 vaccine has also been shown to cause myocarditis in a very small subset of young healthy males that received the vaccine. So we have data from 192 million people that received the vaccine from December of 2020 until August of 2021, and we found 1,626 cases of myocarditis post-vaccination. Okay, so basically inflammation of the heart lining. Most people that causes some mild chest pain, fatigue, shortness of breath that is monitored and resolves. Okay, so, but there were a few cases of deaths, and that's really, really sad from a vaccine that was trying to prevent illness in an otherwise healthy individual. But you have to understand that there was less than 2,000 cases in 192 million people that received the vaccine that developed myocarditis from the vaccine, whereas the incidence of myocarditis from COVID itself is much, much higher. And I can tell you, when COVID was in the throes of 2019 through 2021, I had a young, healthy male in my home. My son was a freshman in high school when COVID first hit, and I had to make the difficult decision of, will I give this vaccine to my child, knowing there was a very, very small risk that my son could get myocarditis from the vaccine. He got both boosters, he did very well, no problems, but that you do need to know that there is a small risk of that occurring, okay? I also had some patients to whom they were given the COVID-19 vaccine as the Moderna or the Pfizer in my office that did develop some vascular inflammation symptoms, such as some pain at the temples that caused an arteritis or an inflammation of some of the large arteries in the brain. It did require some prednisone for several months in order to resolve. I heard of cases of this from other vascular surgeons and neurologists during the COVID pandemic. So what I can say is there have been some cases, although they are small, of people developing some syndromes from the vaccine that COVID itself causes, but they have been very rare, and COVID-19 itself causes things like myocarditis or vascular inflammation at a much, much higher rate. I had many patients that I dearly loved and respected that died from COVID-19, that chose not to receive the vaccine. They died from heart attacks, they died from aneurysms, and those were caused by massive amounts of inflammation in the heart arteries because of the COVID-19 virus. And I do believe to this day that had they received the COVID-19 vaccine, they would still be here. So basically, in summary, can I say that there's no risk from the COVID-19 vaccines? No, I can't say that. But the vast majority of people do not have any long-lasting side effects from the COVID-19 vaccine. And it was life-saving during the epidemic, still is life-saving for those that need it. And again, those populations are age 75 and greater, those in nursing homes and those with pre-existing medical conditions that already predispose them to hospitalization, such as heart failure and lung disease. I would love your comments. Thank you for listening.